Alright everybody, time to run the wires. So, what do we need? Believe it or not, a plumbing tool works really well to run wires because it's nice and stiff. And it's clean, there's nothing on it. So what I'm going to do to try to keep this short so I don't bore you to death, I've already put a wire tie about every foot or so onto my two wires just to keep them together so when I pull them through they don't get hung on anything and it makes them a little neater. So I'm going to run this plumbing tool from one hole here underneath the center console where the wiring and everything is up to the front. Then I'm going to pull it back through. So let's see how this works out. So bear with me. I'm going to try it from the other end. I think it'll go easier this way. So let's find out. Hopefully there's not going to be something that's going to stop me from going that way. Like a stringer. Let's see if we get lucky. It's not likely. Well, I don't usually have luck like that, but luck would have it, believe it or not, that thing actually came out right in front of the hole that goes up to the center console. How about that for luck? So now I'm going to put all the wire in here and gently try to persuade it to come out without destroying anything. There is our wires. And it looks like they're just long enough. So we don't need this. There is our wires. Let's see if I can wedge them somewhere so they don't fall back in. I took the liberty of pre-drilling my hole so you guys wouldn't have to be bored to death. Now, what I did was I drilled 4 holes and made somewhat of a ugly looking circle. And then I took this little Dremel tool and put it on my drill, and it's round and it's a stone rock, so I just ground it right down so I got it nice and round. And as you can see, it's a perfect fit. That's how it's going to be. I was going to put it here, but it's too round. So you got to make sure it's flat enough that you're going to get a good seal. So now all I have to do is I'm going to drill it out and probably rivet it in, either rivet or screws, one or the other. So we've got all our wiring up here. I don't want to bore you to death, so I'm going to run the wires underneath. I'm going to wire it all up here, put it back in, wrap it up good. I'm also going to use some shrink wrap on all my wire connections, try to keep the moisture and stuff out. And I have some of this that when I'm done, I'm going to spray on all the connectors and stuff to try to keep it from rusting and corroding. This stuff works really well. So, I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to try to pause it, and we'll see. Alright, I've got my wires hooked up into my plug for my trolling motor. Thought I'd show you this part because a lot of people don't know how to do this. I'm putting some shrink covers on here to protect the wires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it up and it's going to shrink it down to keep the water out. As you can see, it works pretty well. These weren't quite big enough. They're just barely big enough to work. But I'm going to use them anyway, because it certainly will keep the water and the moisture out. Of course, now the wind's going to blow on me. But as you can see, it shrinks them down pretty good. And then I'm going to put some spray on the ends of them. This is like a waxy type thing. See how it bubbles up, turns waxy looking? It works really well. Now, I've decided to use rivets instead of screws. So, I'm going to put the 2 rivets in there and get that mounted, and then we'll work underneath the dash. But I don't want to bore you to death, so I'll stop the video here. All I'm going to do now is pre-drill it, put 2 rivets in it, and then it'll be set. Be back with you shortly. Okay, now that is installed. I did put caulk around it, and as you can see, I actually put a little caulk inside the rivets. You really don't need it, but that's what I did, and it looks a little cleaner to me with the rivets. So anyway, we're going to move on to the dash, so stay tuned.